We're going to install the Epi boot onto the unit itself first. And I've already packed with waterproof grease the bearing here. I'm not a big fan of doing grease jobs. And you'll hear it click in once it goes in. Well, we might have a medical emergency. I just cut my finger really good there. You can't see it. We're going to go ahead and try to press this puppy in there. Well, it's in there. Okay, so we're back on the workbench here, and I just want to tell you, if you go back to, check out my video playlist below, and if you go back to when I worked on this rear differential, when I first took this thing apart a year ago, I had to remove and cut the boot out with a razor blade because the boot was ripped to shred, and the actual rubber was stuck to the carrier here. And when my buddy Chris came over, he's like, well, how did you remove the boot? And I said, well, I cut it out. And then I remembered when he was here, because I was so frustrated when I was trying to shoot that video, I remembered I had to take, I think, a die grinder, and I ground the inside of this carrier down and the inside of this plate down. And what I forgot about, because this has been sitting on the shelf, is that I didn't remove the rubber boot from inside the carrier. So when I'm trying to smash these boots down in there, I'm having a heck of a time, and I don't think they'll fit because I didn't remove the old inside metal ring because I cut it out and then I dremeled it. So this is why when you take stuff apart, you should kind of get the parts that you need. And I know everybody that fixes quads or buys quads and whatnot, you always run into those things that you think are deals where somebody has completely disassembled the quad, has the whole engine stripped down from the bottom end to the top end, and it's all sitting in milk crates. And then a year, 2 years go by, and it's like, well, hell, I don't even remember how to put that together. So Craigslist, Facebook, whatever marketplace, it goes. And then it ends up on YouTube with someone like me trying to put it together. So what we'll do is, the only thing I'm not going to do on this carrier, and a lot of people don't know this, is Polaris also does not sell the inner bearings for this carrier anymore. There's bearings on the left side and there's bearings on the right side. I bought the bearings, but we are not going to install them, and they are very large bearings. And I was able to grease these, and again, in the video playlist, I have a video. If you're having some problems, you can try to grease them and then maybe get some more life if you don't want to pull it off. But really, if you're having really bad clicking noises, you need to replace these. But you know, this thing's spinning pretty freely, and I re-greased it, so I think we're going to be okay. But this'll just go on a shelf, and then if I ever need it in a drastic moment, I'll do a video in the future. But I'll move the camera here and I'll show you, in case there's probably one person down the line that's going to run into this same problem that I've created for myself here. So I'll show you what's going on. So when you go to replace these boots, on these boots we have a metal ring here. The metal ring also runs down on the inside of the boot. So I cut the boot out with a razor blade and then just pulled the boot out, and we disassembled the rear end, and a year later I didn't even mess with this. Well, Chris come along. He said, "Give me a crowbar." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You can't put another boot in there because that lip's got to come out." And look at this. That is the part of the boot that I left on. I'm just going to be able to push that thing right in there and get that ring on there now. I mean, I cannot believe that I did this, but you know, I actually did it on both sides. So this one as well, that is from the old boot. So yeah, I just made a mistake, man. So on my buying guide, I still recommend buying the Polaris boots. It does look like those ATV PC ones will work. However, I don't want you to have to go through what I went through. So, you know, I would buy the EPI or the Polaris rebuild boots. Okay, so before we get started, I already, from my previous video, I had already packed my bearing full of grease. This is pretty important to do this, so when this goes inside the carrier that this thing is already greased. So you need to go in with grease and pack this bearing before this bearing is installed. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to take our Halfshaft and we're going to install our boot back onto our axle here. And I've actually got a little bit of Amsoil grease left. I called Amsoil and because of the petroleum shortage, dude, they don't have any grease in stock to buy. I thank God I had some leftover grease that I saved. But you really need to use a high quality grease when you're using this. This is basically the factory stock grease that they give you. This stuff will not hold up as long as the Amsoil grease. And look how thin that is. So we're going to go ahead, and I've got some of this used. And I'm just going to grease this shaft where the boot's going to go on, which will help the boot slip on a little easier here. And we're going to install the EPI boot onto the unit itself first. And I've already packed with waterproof grease the bearing here. So we're going to go ahead and put our bearing back on and then get our circlip on here. And hopefully I can do this without having to go get the hook tools. Might have to go get the hook tools. And of course everything is so greasy. I'm not a big fan of doing grease jobs. Some of this stuff, you do it to save money. I called up to the Polaris dealer when I started having problems with this, and they told me it was $119 an hour. But the best part about calling up there to Polaris was they said, "Oh, yeah, we can rebuild that for you, but you know, we can't get to you for 3 weeks." I said, 3 weeks? I said, that turnaround time is terrible. She's like, "Yeah, we're really busy." And I'm like, "Well, you know, 3 weeks is too long for me, so we ain't gonna be doing business." So, okay. So now that we have our axle here, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna insert the grease into the housing of the unit here. So we get some extra grease on the inside, and we'll also get it on the outside here before we install the shaft. And I'm just gonna apply some grease in there. So this thing doesn't go in there dry. I am not a big fan of this type of work. I actually would prefer to pay somebody for this. And then we're going to have, after we get this in here, we've got to put our circlip in to hold the carrier axle in here. We're going to go ahead and install our shaft there. Okay, now that we have our shaft put in, we've got to have our circlips, our other rings put in. These you cannot purchase from Polaris. So if you're watching this video and you need to do this work, do not remove and lose this ring. You cannot replace this ring. You will only find it used on eBay, and good luck. I've never seen any for sale. So you can't go to Polaris and say order that, because there's no part number. I believe this was sold with the axles or with the carrier that they don't sell the parts anymore for. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to push our shaft in pretty much as far as we can get it, and then we're going to get our circlip, and we're going to try to get our circlip in here without getting my head in the shot. And I might have to get a pick here. This is, for me to record this is kind of a nightmare to do this. And to do this with getting a camera angle here. Okay, I got part of it in. I should have got a screwdriver. It might stay. Then once you get just a little bit of it in, you'll be able to push it in, and you'll hear it click in once it goes in. There we go. It's in. We'll pull the shaft. Make sure it's not going to come out, so. Okay. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. I run out of time again today. Okay, we should be good to go. Now that we have the axle into the shaft, we're going to go ahead and pack this full of grease down in the unit itself. We're going to try to get as much as we can in there as possible. And we've got the shaft in it about as far as we can get it. Into the unit here. Oh, I hate the mess of this stuff. I just cannot stand it, dude. Getting greasy like this. Okay, if your rear end clicks, this is why it clicks. If your rear end is clicking, this is dry in here. Your axle shaft is not moving freely like this. Your axle shaft should be able to move in a complete circle. See how it's catching a little bit? It's got to have the grease in it, and it should move freely. So when you go to do this, you just want to see how much freer that's moving. We've got to work all that grease inside that bearing and inside the housing here. and to make sure that we're going to get free movement. Look how free this is moving. When this is all dried up, it'll lock up, and if it's locking up, it's going to click. So look how much it moved that grease to the outside of that carrier, where if the rubber boot was in there, it's going to keep that grease in there. So we're going to push this boot back down. We're going to push the shaft back down. I'm going to apply a little bit more grease there and try to get that grease down inside the carrier. Lots of grease here, guys, or girls. A few girls have been watching the four-wheeler stuff. Damn it, I did it again. I cut my finger on this. God damn it. I did that last time when I got pissed off because I stuck my finger around here. Well, we might have a medical emergency. I just cut my finger really good there. You can't see it. Right through the glove. God damn it. Okay, so I got some new gloves here. Hopefully, I'll be able to get this boot on. I think this boot on is going to be a little easier to put on than the last video. So this is the EPI boot, and we've got plenty of grease in here. We've got free flowing movement. We've got grease down in the carrier. We are just going, I don't know, I don't think I need any more grease in there. We're going to go ahead and try to press this puppy in there. And I think I'm going to go ahead and get a punch here, and we're going to punch that down a little bit. Actually, before we punch that down, I'm going to lift this up a little bit and see if we've got enough grease. And it looks like we do. So that should keep all the grease pretty much centered there. So on the Polaris boots, they have the holes inside the rubber design, and that's for the punch to go down in there, I believe. And we're just going to we're going to be careful. We're not going to want to beat on this too much because we don't want to rip the boot. We're going to go around this seal and get this thing pushed down a little bit, and then we'll try to get the ring put on, and we're moving it. So we haven't quite hit the hole yet. I actually watched a guy on the internet that pushed it in, but he said it was really hard to do with his hands, and actually I moved it pretty good there with my hands. And another guy took the ring, and when he took the ring, he kind of just started it in, and as he got this like this, he placed the ring in here, and then he punched this down and then went around. We'll try that. That kind of makes more sense. And it's going to go in as it goes. If anybody has any tips on how they did it, see, I bent it doing that. Oh, I don't want that, ain't no good. Anybody has any tips, leave the comments below to maybe how they did this a little bit easier. Okay. Well, this side is gone down. Ooh, pushing it with my hands, that's hard. Boy, that's a freaking nightmare. The one guy said he took this, he must have had a, well, I've got that sander, and he took the ring. The one guy told me he took the ring and thinned it out. This is not an easy deal here. This is why I say buying the OEM one is probably the way to go. Man, I just can't believe that don't just click in there. Yeah, I'm just a little too high on it. Ain't going in there. There we go. I got the edge of it started there. It's inside the hole here. Wow, that takes a lot of force to get that down in there. Wow, I just think that could have been done a little different here. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think I'm going to have the strength for this tonight to do the other side if I get this one in. Yeah, see, there it goes. I'm just gonna, you've just got to start getting a little bit of it together, and you're gonna have to work all the way around it and then kind of force it in a little bit at a time here. Oh, I don't like this. Boy, this is dumb. Well, it's in there. Okay, now that we have this, the other side done, what we're going to do is we're going to try to install this one pretty easily too. I've gone through about 3 pairs of gloves. Get some paper towels. So what I'm going to do on this next one is on this boot here, I've already went and ground all the rubber off of where the ring goes. And the reason I did that is because it just didn't appear like that went together real smooth. So what I did on this other one here, I had ATV PC rubber, and I ground the rubber part off here, and then I left some of it on the back side to get a little, to make sure that clamp, that ring goes on a little bit easier. So I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we're going to find out here. So we'll go ahead and lube our shaft up here a little bit, make this a little easier on the rubber boot. Oh yeah, that slides right on. We're going to put our other bearing in. And again, I've already pre-lubed the whole inside of the bearing here. And we're going to go ahead. I'm just ready. Oh man, you guys, I'm just ready to get this rear end to where I can actually move this quad. Get this circlip put on there. There we go. Make sure that's on there. Okay, and that's on there. Now, just like this side here, oh, we actually have a lot of the grease that has moved its way in, so we'll go ahead and we've pushed quite a bit of grease on the inside of the housing here. I'm actually going to try to get you a better shot here with the camera. I'll put a link below to the Amsoil grease that I'm using. I've got 2 different types of grease that I'm using. All the Amsoil grease is interchangeable with each other. A lot of times they'll tell you not to mix grease, but they're both the same NLG formula, and it's not going to hurt anything. It's actually going to be better than what the heck comes with the standard stuff. So we're going to go ahead and insert this here. Into the housing. Then I've got to get that circlip in there. Ugh. We'll go ahead and get this circlip in there. I'm going to have to clean all my camera equipment just from this one video. I have got grease all over the place. It's a nightmare here. But I will tell you, if you've never done this, I've said 3 times already, go to my playlist and watch the other videos in the playlist on modifying this carrier and also on disassembly and reassembly here. Oops, there we go, almost had it. And this one's wanting to be a little booger. Come on. It's probably because everything is literally all greased up now. Come on. There we go. Oh, okay. Same thing with this one. We're gonna work it in and get the grease in there until we get we need to get a nice smooth movement on this. And once the grease comes in, see, we're starting to get a little smoother. There we go. You've got to get all that grease worked in there before you put this thing back together, or you're going to have all kinds of problems. There we go. Okay, we've got good movement here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pack this one full of grease as well. What a mess. Oh, I can't stand this much of a mess. There we go. Okay. It's got a little bind in it, up and down. I'm actually going to kind of cover the boot a little bit. Now I'm going to move the boot on down here. After I clean the ring hole, I'm gonna have to go back around since I got so much grease with the pick here, and we're gonna clean the ring hole to make sure I get the ring in. Oh, wow. Wow, that went in there. That went in there super easy. Oh my God. Now I think we're going to have a little bit more of a gap, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. this ring, oh, is this one of the old rings? I think that's one of the old rings. Yeah, it is. Yeah, see, it's full of grease. Oh wow, that one just snapped right in. All right, dude. All right, all right, all right. Wow. Okay, last final step here. I haven't used this thing a long freaking time. If you don't have one of these, I'll put the link in the description below here. And then we'll cut this once we get this set into place here. Might have cut that a little too short. I haven't done one of them in a while. Maybe we'll do a better job on the other side.